stream. Hello, the interwebs. Those that will be watching later, presumably, because there's nobody really here yet as I get started. Though I hope some will be showing up momentarily. Okay. But I hate these continue things. I hate them with a burning passion that's unreasonable because it's not that big of a deal, but I never just want to continue because I don't know what I last, even if it, other than if I, for some reason I'm just restarting the damn thing. I always like want to know what am I reloading the autosave, the last intentional save? What am I doing? I want to know. It's like, I guess, one more click. If it was 20 more clicks or something, then that would make sense. Ah, hello, Mr. Coco Man. How you doing? And USA Man is here, and LP is here. Very good. Very, very good. Let's take a look around a little bit before we continue. Not enough manpower equipment. We are missing some support equipment. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Support equipment. We are down heavily on support equipment, but this is for garrisons, so we need more support equipment considerably. Also artillery. Italy did have a problem with artillery. That's for sure. I know about everything else too, but okay. Support equipment. Well, we are planning on the next one coming in being there, and then I guess we will do support equipment. Well, how's my day? I'm mostly, well, waking up. I was watching actually 2 episodes of Hello prior to starting this. One of the most realistic series on World War II. Don't know if any of you have seen it. If you want good history on World War II, watch Hello. They've got it there in very good detail. History nerds like me love watching it. Okay. Now, construction. Well, mostly just repairing BS stuff in Ethiopia. It looks like Somali, which is good. Let's move that down to the bottom. Let's just get that up to the top. We'll just get these done. I did make a mod using Hello as a basis for it for Hearts of Iron 3. Yes, I did. It is set in Naval, which is basically Boulogne area, right sort of here. Not sure that province or that province best represents it. And there you'll get some French resistance uprisings and things like that if you're playing as Germany, or you get to hear about them if you're playing as France. I mean, playing as England, because they're hearing about it. Yep. Wow, people even remember that mod. I am surprised at times how much people remember. Okay, the Germans are moving there. Do I just have one British volunteers? Yes, wow. With this mod, I don't know. I'm only able to send 1 division. You know, it was basically 3 divisions that ended up. I mean, they didn't start necessarily as 3 divisions, but basically 3 divisions were sent. Italian division sent to Spain. Let's see. Modify the government. We've got some political power and infrastructure. Naval theorist, air theorist, army theorist. I like some of this. Theorist in general. No, we don't need rockets. Denali. I don't know. Okay, industrial concern. Let's research and production. Fiat medium tank designer. Ansando, mobile tank designer. Okay. Well, let's start an episode here. I'm feeling like a rant coming on. Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 with the World Ablaze mod, and of course we're playing as El Duce's Italy. Yes, El Duce's Italy. Okay. Hi, Uncharted, if you're watching this later. I'm about to say things I really don't know about too much with certainty, but I'm deciding to be a bit of a know-it-all or whatever here, meaning I don't know it all. What the hell? I have to choose between Fiat and Ansando. Am I pronouncing that probably right? Ansaldo. Ansaldo? I don't know. Sorry. I've with names like this, I've just read. I've never heard. Okay. I get good wargame designs is about making choices, because you don't just, hey, press this button, win war. You know, that's no fun. You need to have choices to make. But why don't you give me the other tank designer? It was called, let's see, gotta think about this. Fiat Ansando. They freaking worked together. It's Fiat Ansando. And Saldo. Yeah, like I say, I'm butchering the stuff. Just used to reading this stuff. Okay, these guys made the artillery, made the armor, I believe. These guys made the engines and the transmissions for the tanks. Why are light tanks? I mean, this, you know, even if we have a choice to make, why is the armor and artillery designer doing the light tanks, and Fiat, which is known for the speedy, fast, light tanks, doing the medium and support tanks? Huh? Really, people, I don't know who's doing your Italy design. Maybe he's some expert on fascist Italy. Now, of course, my expert on fascist Italy was telling me the opposite for my Third Reich events mod that has a significant, though most players don't see it, significant Italy series of events, including Italian armored development, and I had a person who I always blank on names, but who fed me a lot of good stuff and did some research for me and had access to a lot of stuff, including, I think, hey Arno, including some original archives and stuff from fascist Italy. He was well, the name that he used was connected with a one of the fascist leaders. I think he was something of a family member of some of them. So, yes, anything Fiat should, yeah, because Fiat, my understanding, again, and unlike I mean, I really have looked fairly deeply into National Socialist Germany and done research. So I'm on much firmer ground there than I have done on Italy. I will readily say that. And hi again, Arno, over on YouTube. Much firmer ground than I am here. But Ansaldo, I probably should try to pronounce that with an Italian accent, to my understanding, was primarily an artillery manufacturer, of guns. And they were, and that is their sort of period badge there. And they were involved with the tank design. Okay, I know that, and I know Fiat because they actually have like a joint company with some joint logos. That it's it's like there may be a big Ansaldo company and a big Fiat company, and then they own jointly whatever percentage a joint Fiat Ansaldo company too. So I'm not saying that these were the same company. I'm saying that they also, in some ways, had a joint company of some sort that produced tanks. Now, maybe Fiat was also doing the armor layout. I don't know. I'm presuming it's Ansaldo. Now, maybe they were just doing the guns and the, how to do the gun mountings, the recoil systems and whatnot into the vehicles. I'm not sure of who the boffins were out there with the, on the drawing boards, drawing up the specs for the tanks, exactly what company, or if it was just truly that level, a mix of people. But definitely everything I get, Fiat is designing things like the engines and transmissions for the tanks. And these guys, well, early on, they're just freaking machine guns mounted on them. And the CV-33s, I know they're also L1s or whatever some models are. So, yeah. When I think of it, now I think of small cars. Yes, absolutely. So, they both have involvement with tank development in Italy. Now, I've read about half of the book called, looking over here, Iron Arm, and it is specifically to look up some of this stuff. It is the best thing I could find on the Italian armor development. And it's 4 or 5 years since I read what I read of it. I haven't read it since, but is almost literally the only thing in English I could find on Italian armor development. So I know I haven't even fully read the book, but like I said, I know a bit about this. Yeah, I'm not even sure of what I'm going to pick right now, but definitely from, well, yeah, I think medium and support is probably the way to go if we go there, but I don't know. I'm just here. See, I don't know Italian Navy at all. I don't know of these companies, Franco, Tosi, and C. I don't know who these people are. Machi is one of the better aircraft designers. Savoia, Marchetti, they produced in post-war era some light civil aircraft that also were used for some military down in Africa. Yes, I recognize that name. Caproni, okay. I think it was Machi or Machi or however you pronounce that. It was the one who was developing jets. Italy was, surprisingly, I think, the first nation to fly an actual jet fighter aircraft. Not the first nation, I don't think to build a jet engine, but the first ones to build and fly a jet fighter aircraft. I know about the L series of tanks, yes. The L series, well, yeah, the CV-33s. Machi is actually pretty good, yeah. Yeah. And now the jet aircraft that they made, and again, I have an event for them in Third Reich events promoting my mod. Are you going to be playing War Thunder? Yes, I am, Mr. Coco Man, and you'd be very welcome to join us for at least a match or two, or three, or five, or what, depending on how many people show up. So, like I say, it was in the 30s. I'm guessing, because I know I've looked the stuff up when I'm making the mod, but I'm guessing it's like around 38, 39. They get an operational, or yeah, it's operational. It's flying prototype fighters that are jets. The Italians make it, but there's a little hiccup there. They're not really any faster than the propeller-driven fighters of the time. At that, in the 30s, so they're not like any faster than a BF 109 or something. So yeah, they're flying jets, pure jet, but they really haven't. At that point, been able to speed things up. So they're early to the jets, earlier than the British, earlier than the Germans, earlier than the Americans, and obviously earlier than the Japanese. Those are because you have the Kika at the end of the war in 45, which is really just a, let's look at the German, what is it? ME 290. Is that it? 290? Yeah, sorry, numbers. And then just sort of, instead of making a direct copy, sort of use it to make their own version of it. So that's based off the Germans. The Germans start out with the Heinkels, but eventually those are delayed, and they end up going with the Messerschmitt jets. And then the British with their Meteor, and I forget, what is it, the Comet or something that is the American? Or do I have that reversed? I don't know. But and they're all later now. Italy is only producing a few prototype jets. They're not doing a big production run because they're not really any better, and they don't go beyond that at this point. Well, you're saying first operational, as in first one's flying combat operations. Yes. But Italy beats them to actual first jet fighters in the air. They don't send them up again in combat because, again, they're not that good. But they do it in the 30s. They do it well before Heinkel gets his jets up in the air. So Italy is earlier there. Yes, what is it? The ME 193? The jet, or no, the rocket fighter. Now, a lot of they had brief periods of flight for that. Okay, enough on aircraft. Beretta, they were Breda artillery designer. Yeah, Breda does artillery. Lancia, motorized equipment designer. How interesting. I've heard of Lancia cars. Beretta's very old and decent armaments manufacturer. But right now I'm just looking at my options here. Industrial concerns. Daniele. I've never heard of them. Now, when I first clicked on this, I was thinking, why aren't we seeing either like Fiat or Ansando? And that's why I clicked over here and saw the tanks as a major industrial concern. And I don't know these people at all. You can see there's big, this could be a huge manufacturing industrial concern. I just don't know of it. Yeah, I don't know everything, people, trust me. Oh, 262, that's what I was thinking of. Sorry, I'm blanking on some names. It's sort of early for me still. Thanks, Arno. Yeah, the 262, but before that, there's the Heinkel models. That Heinkel in Germany, it's Hans Oland. See, again, I have made events, and I do remember some of this stuff. Hans Oland was the main, Olan or Ola, Hans, and as an engineer assistant, was the main developer of the actual jet engine in 36, 37. Heinkel, and they're sort of, making it in a garage, a shed or whatever. And it's sort of I want to say square in that it is round, yes, but it's sort of very angular, just sort of a nothing you actually mount on an aircraft. But here they're building a jet engine, they're powering it up, it's running fairly early in the game. I'm not exactly sure whether they bring it to Heinkel or Heinkel hears about it, but Heinkel himself decides to invest in it and set these two guys up in one of his aircraft factory development areas, so they have their own proper workshop and are developing jets under them. And the earliest models, unlike the Italians, that they sort of get flying is they're taking a piston engine aircraft. And I'm not actually sure whether they actually removed the piston engine. The drawings that I've seen, because I've not seen a photo of one of these things, I presume somebody took photos of them, but they were probably secret and probably went into the fire as, the Allies and the Soviets were coming at some point. But I've seen drawings of what one of these early things looked like. And it looks like the exhaust pipes for the normal propeller engine are still on the aircraft, though it's drawn without the propeller on it. So I don't know whether the engine and the propeller the drawing just omits the propeller, or whether they had removed that. But they had literally just sort of, mounted the jet engine on brackets below the air, the standard sort of aircraft to fly it. So that was just testing the jet engine to see if it can keep an aircraft up in the air, not a proper one. Where the Italian one is the engine is behind the pilot in the main fuselage. So it has air scoops at the front of the fuselage that come around the pilot, forcing the air into the jet engine behind the pilot, and then pushing out the tail. The exhaust thrust. So it's all well designed in that sense, but like I say, it really didn't perform any better than standard piston engines. But they were the first with an actual designed, fully designed around flight operations for jet engines. And up there, the Heinkel, what is it? The Heinkel 100, I want to say, was the early Heinkel fighters that I think they should have pursued in Germany, but I'm not sure why they didn't. They weren't nearly as good as the later 262s, but they would have been good for some protection over the Reich. Hello, Toy Jet, how you doing? Then I don't know. What, you don't know it? Yeah, I don't know everything. Didn't the early jet engines use fuel like crazy? Not particularly. One thing with Germany and jet engine, I know we're getting off topic here. What was Dutch aircraft like at the time? Not bad, but not terribly good. Sort of waking up still is how I am, Toy Jet. The big problem with Germany's jet engines was the quality of the metal that they had available at the time that they actually really started building them was so poor that the heat from the engine was melting them pretty quick. So they were burning through engines really fast. They just would run too hot for the engine. I think we're going to go with increased industrial research speed next. So we're going to do that. Well, 110s were not meant to be maneuverable, so it's not hard to have something more maneuverable than a 110. Yeah, it was mainly Fokker, who was a German fighter pilot designer in World War I, who leaves Germany after World War I because, hey, banding air forces and such, and he goes to work in the Netherlands. Okay, China's doing its thing. Yeah, we need more tactical and close air support production, but we just need more production. We should be doing better here than we are. At least I think we should. It was founded in 1914. Very interesting, about Daniele. Yeah, it's just pure ignorance on my part. Send Air Force. I think I have air operating. Yeah, I've got air operating. I just don't have enough of it, and really can't send too much more. I just don't have much going on. Hey, Scooter. Cool. You can watch wherever's best for you. Sort of not making enough to, well, you know, let's can we just send these guys back here? Now that those are back, maybe I can send these guys. Nope, too big. Okay. Let's see if we can send these guys. There we go. Okay, so we got Bilbao. Okay. Mortars. So we have a bunch of things we can do here now. Very good. Now that we are in 1937. That will help us out. Still trying to repair one of those factories down here. Flying boat and a naval bomber. Okay, well, let's change that question a bit, because a naval bomber can be anything designed to bomb at sea. There is a flying boat and a float plane, okay? That's maybe what you're asking, USA Man. Now, or are you talking purely in the game? Are you talking in real world or in the game? And no, Arno is wrong about that. Hello, USA Man. Okay, in real life. Okay. Because like a naval bomber that was basically set up, the Condor, the German Condor, the FW-200, is probably one of the longer range naval bombers out there, and longer than at least most float planes. There might be some of the Clipper ships out there that are bigger. Okay, let's see, do we have a good example here? Oh, Italy, we have a nice Italian tree here. Viva la Italy. Where are all of Italy's float planes? Italy had lots and lots of float planes. They were known for float planes. Did lots of float planes. Okay. Right, well, let's see. Can we go look over at Germany for a moment and see what they can research? Intel ledgers. Let me look at their... Not easily. Okay. Okay, a flying boat, I guess simply put, is a boat that flies, but in a way that the whole of the airplane is what lands in the water. Okay. So, it's a little hard to, let's come back over here. So the whole of the airplane is what lands in the water. So, let's find a nice bomber. Like here, it would be this part of the plane would splash down in the water itself, where a flying flying boat. No, I think I'm saying this all wrong. A flying boat is one that the hull is designed to land in the water. A float plane has floats attached below the plane. So, like the U.S., I know, did some fighter models for the Navy that were the same as, regular landing, but they just removed the landing gear off of it and put a float below it. So you have a fighter that's not so good a fighter because there's more air resistance because of the floats behind it. But that's sort of a float plane. That's a float plane. I mean, it's a plane that floats. Well, the other is the hull itself goes sort of into the water and designed as such and takes off. So those are flying boat versus a float plane. So a plane that floats, the BA-201, I'm not sure on the numbers there. And the Titanic must be a submarine. Yeah. In a way. So yeah, a flying boat is now generally speaking in most games. Oh, here we go. That's it. The Campini N1. There's the Italian jet. That's what it looked like, very much so. Now, of course, they stuck this way down here in 1945 when they had it around here. And you can see there's the air intake. The engines are back where this white stripe is, and the exhaust is sort of right there from the engine. So it's, the air intake comes along there. So that's the early Italian fighter aircraft. It's a jet fighter. Now, I don't know why they didn't put it like around here and just give it stats that aren't that good, because it's not that good. I don't know about its maneuverability, but I know its speed is just not as good as what they were able to operate piston engine fighters at the time. So yeah, a float plane is a plane that floats. A flying boat is a boat that flies, if you will. It's often thought flying boats were better at anti-submarine operations, so generally in the games they have an advantage on spotting submarines and spotting maybe in general, but generally speaking they weren't as good of attacking ships, bigger slow targets, where some of the naval bombers were generally thought to be faster and better at bombing. In a sense, yeah, because a fighter bomber is a fighter that you stick bombs to. A close air support is something like a Stuka that is specifically designed as a close air support aircraft. It's just sort of, the chicken or the egg. The primary design reasons for the the aircraft. I forget the model numbers, but in the 30s, the U.S. Navy was running an aircraft that was a biplane that was sometimes had floats on the bottom of it when they were launching them off of cruisers, you know, that just had a catapult, but were also, they could pull the floats off and stick on the landing gear to operate them off of carriers. So they would fly better without the heavier and bulkier, which more air resistance, you know, as a float plane, fighter plane. They would do better as that. We're actually going to come all the way down over here. Now that we've cleaned up these pockets up here. What was the Carcano? Okay. What was it? Like, I think a bit underpowered as a cartridge. They used one, or the Kennedy assassination was with an Italian World War II Carcano. It killed the U.S. President Kennedy. Okay, gain base stability. Okay, well, we have lots of stability and war support, so I'm not really worried about that. Losing manpower. Don't know about that. But we get a lot of civilian factories and 3 military factories. That is where I really think we've decided to go down that road, and then educational research slot. Libyan infrastructure. We have time to do that, I think. Libyan refineries. Okay, then nearly 3 steel mills. Military modernization is going to have to come after. What's the time frame on that? 70 days. Yeah, after we get that done. Befriend Yugoslavia. Okay. Black shirt recruitment, 35 days. Employs 5 black shirt divisions. We'll do that first. You join that fight. Yeah, good. Just attacking the hills. Very good. Now push, push, push. No, 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 no. Push. Push before they can get reorganized. Come on, Spain. Come on. Get in here and support me. Basic infrastructure. Nice. Now, well, they're almost full down there, that air base. Well, I guess it's the best air base to operate out of. Got that basic infrastructure, so that helps there. I really don't know much about Italy's synthetic fuel research during this period. Yeah, we'll do that. I just don't know. They're coming to support us. So good. We can push into here, into the vacant province, while they are somewhat weaker, and hopefully hold off their attack. Of the still thinking about the Carcanos. Of the major bolt action used during World War II from the major powers, probably the one I would want to use the least is the Carcano. So yeah. Not terrible. I would say the U.S. Springfield, the 30-06, which of course is the same caliber they use in the M1 Garand, is overly powerful, more than it needs to be. See if we can push up here and create a pocket. Okay, we're doing okay-ish on some of the... We need more close air support and tactical bombers. Okay, getting these in production. I guess that's down here, is it? I don't know. Yeah, okay, there it is. Black shirt recruitment, good. Let's come back over here because I knew to be 140 days, but it'll give us 12 civilian factories and 3 military ones. And we can use the production assistance for sure. Yeah, that's going to sort of hit our... let's wait on that. I don't think we need that at the moment. Although we are using our armor, I think we need to be more of a infantry based. Let's look at this a little bit more. Yeah, we probably need to deal with some of this. Choices, choices, choices. I don't know, maybe research is where we need to this early in the game. Let's look back over here. Okay, we have the L3s. Not until 39 do we get to some of these early tanks. The mediums. I doubt we're going to get to the heavies. But we've got various things here. So let's compare to like Germany, where I sort of know what I want to do. Okay, motorized production cost. Light infantry equipment, heavy infantry equipment, total equipment. Oh. Okay, well, we have a lot to expand. You know, I'm looking here and seeing that we need more aircraft. So, production costs, fighter, multi-role. I like naval bomber type aircraft, but heavy fighters we're probably not going to do too much of. So, yep, I think we're going to go here. Using companies is always best for one of your first picks, other than your political advisors. This is because you want. Yes, absolutely. You want to absolutely. Low gain. You're absolutely right. Now, some mods like some mods have changed the development in that it no longer affects the aircraft as or stats from when you design it. It's just bonuses or lack thereof for production of certain types of aircraft. Thinking particularly of black ice. No, I don't think we're going to establish Eritrea. I really do think these battles go too long. I should decide sooner. I really think so. There's just... It seems to me that there's too much of, oh, well, these are out of it, now set these guys. It's just ongoing, endless, as opposed to a decision, because we've now gone over a month for this one battle here. Now, sometimes sieges, you know, we can look at, you know, the external siege for Leningrad, or the sort of, you know, internal assaults of Stalingrad going for a long time. That definitely did happen. No question about it. Okay, we have a lot of army experience, so let's... And then... Go defender enemies. Not letting me do this yet. Is this a country specific? Because I figured that might be. Is this guerrilla warfare? Okay, I don't know. Well, let's try this out. There we go. Okay, good to know. USA man. It's not like every battle needs to be decided in a day or anything, but some of these things drag on for months that allow units to come in and go out, come in. It makes me think World War I much more so than World War II. These are the 5 fascist divisions we got, I believe. Okay. Did we get the tanks for them as well? I guess, maybe. Yeah, good.
Comandi. Pronto. Formazione. Attento. Sì,
It's an
signore.
urban environment, so we really don't need a...
Li respingiamo, signore.
And how many months does this go on? This is just, and I'm not blaming this on World Ablaze. This is just more my problem with Hearts of Iron 4 is just this battle decided already. Just freaking decide, you know. In Hearts of Iron, and I know many of you played both games, but in Hearts of Iron 3, you have the delay between battles, that you can do things to get it shorter and shorter. So that way, it's sort of like the idea of, we just had this battle, okay, well it takes 4 days, 6 days, a month, probably not normally a month, but it takes a while to go, okay, well now we've organized up and we set ourselves up ready for the next battle. It takes that long. Where they've removed that in this game. But they've allowed these battles to take forever now. Okay, April 19th. Glenfinnan Day is basically when we started this. Maybe a day before. We'll see how long this takes. What is this? Ciudad Rodrigo? Real? Ciudad Real? I don't know. There's Rodrigo is probably a different place. Ciudad. Okay. Factory camouflage. We don't need, like I said, factory camouflaging just yet. And I'm just checking if any of these are allowed to us. That's probably not. Nope. Okay. And can we... Defense in depth, elastic defense. Recovery rate, infantry, mechanized. Not yet. I figured we had to get that done first. Oh, tier 2 becomes unlocked above. Oh, completely finished. Okay. So we have to completely finish that. At least, I think, on each of these, but I'm not sure. Okay. We are in 37. We can develop better artillery. That airbase is nearly full. Improved machine tools, very nice. Radio detection, yeah, that'll help. Okay, well, we're going to end the episode here. Not the live stream, but the episode here. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. See you next time for even more Hearts of Iron. Okay, yep, we're going to make another episode. Just a moment here. Make a save. Welcome back to Spain and the fun of civil wars. We all love civil wars. They are so civil. Yes. In fact, often the opposite. Let's see what we want to research here now. Fighter tactics, that would be useful to do that well, but maybe we should see about a more improved fighter, get something like that into production. We started this battle on April 19th, so it's been going approximately 10 days. We are supposedly doing well in it. And freaking this Spaniards won't support me in this. We could create a pocket here and cut off a bunch of divisions and destroy them. Leadership purges in the Soviet Union begin. That's always a good way to get your nation going well. Purge all of the leadership, especially with nice show trials and death sentences. Well, I think design is... We're gonna go with Beretta. Oh good, we're here now. Okay, attack. Attack while they're still somewhat disorganized. Well, we're not as disorganized as I hoped. Okay, so that wasn't too long, that battle. Now we are crossing the river, but we're supposedly doing well. What does our division look like? Okay. Well, we have... Okay. Divisione Silera, fast. I believe that is what that means. So, fast division. Light tanks, scout cars. Okay, no. Stop that for a moment. I really want to just click here. Okay, motorized recon. Got scout cars, which may be sort of doing the same as reconnaissance. That's gotta be. Okay, well, we need more motorized and light tanks, but hopefully the one division we have in the field will get the priority equipment.
Fermatevi!
The FNFAL. It's my favorite rifle. I own a few. What's your favorite rifle, Mr. Coco? Yeah, they're still mostly full. Oh, okay. How is our air doing down here now? Okay, well, oh, they're standing by. They should have been operating. Damn. I know we sent new ones in, but I forgot to put them to operational tasks. No divisions in training, but now we have enough supplies to put some infantry divisions into training. Let's take a quick look here. Okay. Well, let's just look at this. Support equipment. We need more support equipment. Yep, we'll do this. And we will add unit. No, we don't have support equipment, but we're going to M1 Garand because of the ping. Okay, cool. M1 Garands are great. Hello. Joyce, how you doing? Okay, how are we doing for production of support equipment? Okay, we've got to there. Yeah, we need more aircraft in production, but we also need a lot more support equipment too. So that's the next factory to come online. We will make that support equipment, and we are dealing with BS out in Ethiopia. We'll move these in as priority. The M16. The M16 is cool. Years and years ago, I had problems with the Car 15 that sort of soured me to the gun. The more modern M4 carbine that the U.S. Army currently uses is pretty good. I like it, just not in my top 10, really. 16 or M1 Garand. I don't know why you're not liking the M14. better than the M1 Garand. I mean, it doesn't have the ping that the M1 Garand has, but it's a really good rifle, the M14, or the M1A as it in the civilian, you know, semi-auto only version of it. I would say is better than an M1 Garand. Detachable box magazine for one. More reliable, I would say. Very similar guns, of course, but... Getting... well, some air support. Come on, guys, you can just support the attack. You do like the M14, yeah. The M14 is really good. If you like that sort of M1 Garand, M1A, M14 family of weapons, they're really good. The U.S. Army made the mistake of doing the political thing and going for the M1 or the M14 over the FNFAL. But hey, the U.S. normally does lots of mistakes with its small arms. It did correct itself after getting rid of the M60 to go back to the FN MAG 58, which is clearly a better gun than the M60 and is sort of an American design. It's sort of a turned upside down action of a BAR by Dudone Salve, but because of course the BAR is designed by, as in the name, Browning automatic rifle. Let's see, we've increased the army a bit. Okay, we can now have 4 divisions. So, does anybody know for sure, because I normally don't do this, if I were to send in 3 more, does it remove the one that I'm sending in? Or does it just add to it? Cavalry Brigade ain't that useful.
Attento. Pronto. Pronto all'azione.
Let's assign that.
Formazione. Avanzate.
Okay, so no one knows whether, because I normally don't add or subtract to my expedition if I were to send another one over there. Okay, no, career. We don't want cautious. Okay, fascist loyalists, yeah. Talio Belvo. Okay, let's save this. I want to experiment. I know I've played a lot of WWII, but there's still things I don't know about it. Okay. Send volunteers. You have 1 division, your maximum total is 4 divisions. This will generate threat. Right, okay. Okay, good, this unit stays here, cool. Thought it stayed, but I wasn't sure. We might as well have a few more divisions. So we jam up in the mud in Vietnam. Well, all guns jam up in the mud in Vietnam, even the AK-47. The U.S. Army did a very poor job at educating soldiers when they went over to the M16 from the M14. There was the myth that it was somehow a self-cleaning gun and that you didn't need to clean it. And that was probably the biggest problem. So soldiers for quite some time were not cleaning their guns. And then two, the M16 probably needed more, Amelia Earhart mixed it around this time, more care in the field than the M14 did. Now, either one of those needed more care in the field than the AK-47 or even the SKS, which was, especially early on, the more common weapon of the VC. People always picture the AK, and the AK is probably ultimately
Pronto.
the more common, but still there's... Okay guys, you come down to here. You're gonna press in from this side. We're gonna create a pocket. Get these guys out. No good, we made it out to here, and now we're going to rush to there. Attack, 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 attack. You know you're not very well organized, you're going to collapse, but we're pushing. Maybe the Spaniards will decide to join the fight. Marco Polo bridges. So then, okay, so everything other than support equipment and aircraft we're doing well with.
Non fermatevi.
They rush while
Ordini.
they're delayed.
Ordini.
You support that attack there. There we go.
Pronto.
Now you support that attack there. Okay, well we got a nice little pocket here.
Sì, signore.
Toledo, maybe? Push across that river right now? Yep, that was the move to make.
Formazione.
They're coming there, so we need to come here. Keep from getting cut off because they're going to fill that in. Where's my other tank division go?
Vi respingiamo, signore.
Get under him. Okay, there's the other. There we have.
Pronto all'azione.
Wait. Where did the other one go?
Vi respingiamo, signore.
Okay, there, he's there. Okay. Good, so we got all the way to Toledo. They've got a pocket they can crush, hopefully. One thing that
Avanzate.
I find a little displeasing with some of the YouTube videos about guns is they do a mud drop test with some of the guns. They drop like a Luger into a bucket of mud and then sort of shake off some of the mud and see if it still shoots. Still thinking of Martin Smith's M16 mud in Vietnam thing. And that's a real thing, you know, what guns can handle the mud test or not. And the theory is the sort of the tight tolerances of a Luger when dropped in mud. Would it jam up because of the mud versus I don't know, like an AK-47 or something that has loose or sloppy tolerances, some pistol that is known for that, which would handle that better. Well, one thing I do believe, especially because they don't leave it there for a long period of time, is something like a Luger that was sort of known for jamming. And there's reasons for Luger's jamming beyond just dirt. Is how much of the mud actually gets down into the working mechanisms of the gun versus just covering the gun. And so a tight tolerance gun might not get as much mud deep down into it to jam it up. But all guns jam up because they create their own dirt. And that's as big a problem as... thanks, Arno. Yes, giving the stream a thumbs up on YouTube very much helps. And so they create their own dirt with simply firing the gun and from the powder that's used. And some powder is dirtier or more likely to create fouling than other. Black powder is, or what we commonly call black powder, or you know, the older gunpowder type stuff, is some of the worst at doing that. And so having a tight tolerance, something like a Luger, I think is more likely to jam up from its own lack of cleaning. It can be in a sterile environment, literally a sterile environment. It's going to jam up sooner because of the powder residue is going to build up on that gun faster and be more of an effect than something like a 1911 because of that. And so even a musket, because it's running black powder, will jam up on itself just because the powder fouling in the barrel. So that really needs to be taken into account much better when you're talking about guns, cleaning and jamming, etc. Reinvigorate the capital. Very good. So now we have 70 days to, if we want to get another research slot, and that's generally you want to get those earlier rather than later, but I'm just want to take, because like that is 70 days also. So I'm looking at 70 days there. This is 35 days, Game of National Spirit, Roman Heritage, which grants land research speed, Naval Doctrine. Okay, so research speed. So that's good too. Befriend Yugoslavia, 35 days. Align with German politics. Fact of steel. Befriend Bulgaria. Claims on France. Befriend Romania. And Istanbul, treaty with Germany. Okay, good stuff we're going to get to, I think. But develop the steel works, which steel mills would be nice. Okay, we're going to do the research slot first. I just wanted to check with that. Okay. No, 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 go away. Go away. Okay, we have just this thing building for air now. Let's get, we'll get a close air support design in production. Well, let's go to 2 of these. And patrol aircraft. I think we need tactical bombers as well. Let's move these up as in more steel or resources if they're, well, these are aluminum and other things, but still. Okay. So that will help with that. Hopefully we will catch up here at some point for our
Ordini.
supplies. Okay, guys. Yeah, you
Avanzate.
come to here. Actually, you know, you go over there.
Pronto, signore.
You come and attack here. Try to pin these 3 divisions.
Pronto all'azione.
Oh my god. Oh my god, is that really all the way open to
Avanti.
Rome?
Ordini.
Where are, okay, where, that division is there,
Muovetevi.
that division, start heading this, no, that's the one that's, yeah, no, this guy, he can head to that one.
Comandi.
We've done this nice big urban city for Madrid, and I've just taken out the capital. Okay,
Pronto.
infantry division, you move there.
Sì, signore.
Other armored division, you move across the river to here. Take out their air base.
Formazione.
Alright, you keep coming to, yeah, you come to there.
Attento.
Move on to Madrid Air Base.
Ci respingiamo, signore. Attento.
Follow Beijing, but we just had to follow Madrid basically here. The 5th column made it in, and we've done it. Okay, how can we improve our settings here? We may change this and flip this in future for better medium tank support, but right now we're only producing light tanks. So we're going to reduce the cost of light tank production.
Forza, muovetevi.
Come on, push into there. Before they can take it all. Battle of China begins. Okay, they're declaring war on each other out there. Fun times in Asia. Declare war on everybody. Come on, support my attack, guys. Got 2 of these armor divisions moving in here, that's it. How are we doing for... Okay. Tanks. Oh, there, like tanks. Okay, we're only down by 5, and it's probably divisions. Hopefully not here. Breeders, okay. Well... Mountain infantry... Oh, good. Now we're getting the Spanish division helping us out. Basically, does it make sense to produce multiple types of tanks like Stugs? Quite honestly, and we can take a quick look in here. On tanks and this. Well, we are looking at the Italian tree, so I don't know that that's a good oh, I hate when you can't do this. Okay, so 261 261. Well, oh, and production costs 16, production costs 14. So now this is slightly less production costs, but otherwise the same in materials. 14 instead of 16 for this. This one has heart attack of 14 and piercing of 52 versus heart attack 13, which is only slightly less, but piercing of 38, and this was what, 52. So yeah, so it would make a good reason to make Stugs here. You know, this is the Italian equivalent of Stugs. Would definitely be a thing here. We can look over here at this guy here. He has heart attack now way down at 10. This is a machine gun turret with a main gun down in the hole, which isn't much of a main gun. And whereas it's piercing 38, so it's just this sort of light piercing. So there would be a reason to produce this Stug, simply on the little bit more heart attack and definitely more piercing use. Soft attack 4 versus soft attack 7. So the tanks are getting a considerably more soft attack, where this thing really was a bit more of a tank destroyer kind of thing. So yeah, it does make some sense to do that. It really does. It may not be a super amount of sense. Quite honestly, most of the time when I'm playing these games, I'm trying to keep the action going a little bit more than doing detail analysis and development. And unfortunately, most players are that way. Okay, I'm fine with this not going well, and we're still pushing here because I'm delaying these 4 divisions from moving around, possibly reinforcing here in Madrid. Take the airport. Got the rest of it, and then we want to cut off that pocket. Sometimes it is best to sacrifice a unit like this to some degree. Obviously, we're not sacrificing it to be destroyed, just high casualty rates. I always judge a game slash mod and do historical orders of battle, if you will, within the unit. If we're doing something historical and it works well, that's how I judge it, as opposed to being gamey and which just purely works the best. Because there's reasons why they did historical things. Now, Italy made some bad choices historically. I think I can support from over there, can't I? Yes, good. Yeah, we're now attacking from more than one province, and we don't have air support cover. Why don't we have air support cover? You don't cover all the way to you do cover to there. Oh well, you're all shot up. Okay, you can come back to here. Can I find another 30 or 40? Okay, is that small enough to come over here? Nope. Fuel refining. I guess we're going to split it once more. Send one of these over here. And you're going to air support that. And now let's see, we are in 37 still. September. Okay, production efficiency grows, basic attention, production. We'll do this one, I think, first. Fall of Shanghai. Let's take a quick look out at China. Okay, so this is okay, Shandong. Okay, this is part of the Chinese coalition. So Japan is efficiently moving into here, and the AI has done a naval landing down here, which is smart. The Japanese. Okay, good. So that's going reasonably well for Japan, our potential future ally. I had to learn Navy. How's World Ablaze mod with Naval and USA? Okay, I guess. I really don't know a lot about that. Because I've mostly been playing as Germany and like focusing on how things go on the Eastern Front than looking at some of the other aspects. Didn't I already say do this? Okay, maybe it didn't take for some reason. I don't know. So, I don't know that I have a good answer for you on that. I don't want to make it seem like it's bad, just more that I just don't know. Okay. Context of the mod. World Ablaze, I'm somewhat know Uncharted now. He's very much looking to try to make as historically based mod as he can, without trying to go into the detail that Black Ice does. Black Ice, in my opinion, is doing some problems with it because of the AI is so bad. I still think it is so bad, the combat AI of Hearts of Iron. Now, Uncharted is working to improve that. He also does improved AI, where I really don't think there's much improvement going on with Black Ice. So Black Ice puts in conditions that make invading Russia super hard, more so than I think there should be. They're overcompensating with things that way, where Uncharted is doing some AI improvements to things. They seem to be getting better, I would say. That would be my impression of them. And trying to make it without going into too much detail. He thinks Black Ice is going in overly much detail on some issues. So Yeah, that's sort of the situation. Sort of like black ice, but without trying to go as deep into the weeds that the black ice will go at times. So, if you like that type of thing, I would recommend this mod. It's not that this mod is perfect or something like that. It's a good mod. And it's mostly done by him. So it's mostly a one-man show, that I understand. You went to Tuscany, didn't you? To Tuscany, stop operating. What? I know you don't have any aircraft or anything, but why aren't you going to Tuscany? Why don't I see a little aircraft zipping across here? They don't do a lot of alt history, so it's not so bad. I mean, because we don't see a, you know, a non fascist type path here. I've been playing as Germany, and it's mostly a history, national focus type stuff there with that type of thing. So it's not such a alt history BS kind of thing. There is, you know, I'm not against the idea of alt history. I just want the history done right first, and then you can do alt history, and they haven't done the history right, at least on the base game, in my opinion. I don't know why you aren't going over there. Is it just because you don't have any aircraft, so you don't move? Well, I wouldn't characterize it as the U.S. sent the Abraham Lincoln Brigade or battalion to there. That was, I think, without the support of the U.S. government. I can play a Kaiserreich game sometime again. I played it. There's at least 2 series on my channel of Kaiserreich already. Someday I'll make another one. I don't know how soon. I like the game, but I want to look at some of the historical stuff too. Or more, maybe I should say. Radio companies, maintenance companies, reconnaissance. Let's look here. I'm just getting this. Getting that done. Okay. What should we do as Italy? That's useful. Naval strikes. That's sort of the German path. Operational integrity. Okay, purely out of naval mission efficiency, because we do have a lot of stuff out at sea here. Let's spend this to do the research a little faster, or a lot faster, we should say. Tibet RT only? Don't quite understand that, as in what you're referring to specifically there. Okay. Well, let's try to befriend Yugoslavia for 35 days. I would say Mussolini's relations with Yugoslavia was complicated. He was definitely courting some of the Croatians, and the Croatians, of course, want to have basically the breakup of Yugoslavia. He wants to get at least the coastal half of Yugoslavia as part of the new Roman Empire, if not potentially all of Yugoslavia as part of the new Roman Empire. And he was also trying to do good economic trading with Yugoslavia for things like food for Italy. So complicated, I would put Mussolini's interaction with Yugoslavia. Yep, you're gonna not succeed, but you're now delayed a total of 5 divisions there. The real battle is over here. Okay, we can... We don't need our we don't need range, really, I don't think, for naval operations for Italy. 15%, okay, but that's, well, destroyer production. Well, we're probably not going to build too many big ships. Does this have submarine now? 15, 10, 10, 10, 10. Frigate, destroyer. Yeah, let's do that, I guess. Now, do any of these generals can be improved at the... Oh, you might be able to. Okay, no. Well, you may have the experience. You, I think, are full up on the number of slots you can have. Okay.
Continuate l'attacco.
I like recovery rate. So they've created a little pocket there, good. Tactical bombers have been hit hard. Now, for our construction, okay, we're mostly just playing repair, so I don't like that. Down in Ethiopia. When we get those done, another one for Piedmont.
Pronto, signore. Avanzate. Forza, forza.
Okay, new research on fighters. Now let's, early on here, get these over to the new fighters. All in Nanjing. We're producing 9 fighters a year. Yeah, right. I think their build-up is way too slow on this game. Because either that build-up should be that slow, but take the sort of the research time for the stuff, but you also have the research time, so it just too much, I think. 9 a year. 2 factories. 9 fighters a year. Now we're at 12 a year. Mountain infantry, okay. Pushed a little ahead on that, I know, but I wanted to get that done. Okay, befriend Yugoslavia, very good, okay. Go for aircraft or heavy. Aircraft carrier, you mean, or a heavy BB? Well, we don't need aircraft. We're carriers. We're Italy. We have islands all over the Mediterranean to put aircraft on. Super heavy battleship? No, we don't have the production for that. No actual aircraft. Yeah, we're gonna do aircraft. Yeah, we should probably do the naval bomber here. Radio detection, very good. I don't even know if well. Do I need to change? So we have no naval experience, so I can't change shit. Okay, well. I do hate that. Okay, well. We'll improve our armor operations. Okay, leave the League of Nations, at least 300,000 manpower. We have that. "35 days. We'll do that first. Yeah, this is the attack that was supposed to succeed. That's a lot of civil factories. I want to increase. Yes, from Venezuela. Let's do another factory there of get in oil, and we'll try to increase the amount of fuel production as opposed to slowly lose it. Betting skirmishes and naval bombers. Yeah, Toy Jet, I don't know how much naval stuff I'm gonna try to do versus, because I just like using naval air power so much. Don't know how many invasions I'm gonna need to do. Panay incident, Japan attacking U.S. ships on the Yangtze River in China. Okay, come on, we want the Madrid airport. And I think we're going to end this episode here. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking videos. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Love to see you around more often. See you next time for even more Hearts of Iron. Alright, let's make a save and then we'll make another episode. Alright. Viva El Duce! We're back to Hearts of Iron 4 with the World Ablaze mod, and of course, as hinted at, we are playing not Spain, but Italy. That would be Viva El Caudillo if we were talking about Franco. But yes, we'll be continuing this. Before we do, if you haven't already, please give this channel subscribe, smash that subscribe button, and of course liking the video helps a lot, and what really super helps is sharing the video on some other format. If just a few of you did that, it really helps. Like, I don't know, post a link over on the World Ablaze Discord to this video once it's out or whatnot. That kind of stuff really helps. Okay, we'll continue here. And of course, I greatly appreciate all tips, hints, corrections, questions you want to post below, and of course live while we're making this. You want to post those as well. Okay, I want to get this airport. Once I get the airport, then I want to move the units over here and then push this way behind the river and create another pocket. That's what I want to do. And that's getting near to happening, it looks like, unless I can continue to move in reinforcements. Sort of why I'm attacking here at bad odds. Oh, well, they've joined the fight, so that's getting a little better odds. Keep them from reinforcing in effectively. And one more. Oh, there. Well, it looks like they're bringing in reinforcement. Roman divisions. Okay, very good. Now, leave the League of Nations. 35 days. Modern military modernization. Super goods factories. Weekly war support. Civilian factory construction speed. We should probably do that. Let's modernize our military. Deploy units. Oh, we need to set locations. Here, set looks good. Deploy. I don't care if I don't have enough equipment. Deploy it. We'll get more equipment in time. Our next factory will be that. And we're producing more factories. Good. Come on, break them, break them, break them. Yep, so they moved in new divisions. That's what I don't like about these long term. You can, like, always move in a refresh division. Keep the battle going forever. I mean, normally if you had something like this, you'd have a decision point fairly quickly. Especially when we're looking at a 53 kind of advance as opposed to just some sort of minor little pinprick of an attack. Why do I play games that I complain so much about? Well, it's still a good game. And the reason I complain about them is because I want them better. Not because I'm hating on them. I'm giving how I want to make this a better game. Okay, all three of your divisions, you come over here. No, 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 stop your attack. Come down here. Stop your attack. I'm giving up. I'm giving up. Come down here. It is an urban environment that does mitigate my, hey, we should push in faster. I'm not exactly sure about the term you're using there, Martin. He did definitely call, I don't know that he called Italy the soft underbelly of Europe, Indian National Congress. Okay. Yugoslavia requests divert fighter production. Okay, we'll do that. He did think the Mediterranean was the soft underbelly of Europe. Excuse me, that goes back to the Gallipoli campaign. Now, the Gallipoli campaign here, because he definitely did talk about the soft underbelly of Europe, and I know that. And he's wrong, in short. Sometimes, yes, even the great Churchill can be wrong. Churchill was the main driver of the Gallipoli campaign down here when he was it the First Lord of the Admiralty, or whatever the exact term is, during World War I. Now, here's sort of what happened was, and this is just rough, this isn't good. The British send up a squadron of ships that, oh my God, they got into here, into the Sea of Marmara, or however far up here, and then turned around and left. Maybe they shelled some things, I'm not sure. Turned around and left. And that goes, oh shit, to the Turks. And the Turks go, oh shit, this is just, you know, we can't have this. So they set up defenses, I know for sure on this peninsula, but I also think on this peninsula, to try to block that thing. Well, the British started to go, well, hey, this would be a good, easy advance into the Turkey and knock Turkey out of the war. Now, because they sort of showed their hand by sending the ships in, you had the Turkish reaction before the British can move. And there's delays in getting stuff going. I think partially just trying to find the troops to do a proper invasion. And so by the time they get there, the Turks are already somewhat dug in. Here, Gallipoli is like right down in here. Come here and land. And I think, this is just speculation, had the British on sort of, if you will, day one, push hard inland, they could have done it. But I think there was some reluctance to extend themselves. I'm probably getting some of this wrong, I'm almost sure I am, but I don't know what part of it is. So this is going with Churchill's soft underbelly of Europe. Now, he thinks this, and whether it's Italy or the south of France or Greece, Those are sort of all in his line of thinking. At one point, after I believe it's the Sicily landings, while Italy is still holding on to, well, I don't want to be able to see, I think, still holding on to Rhodes, they send in like, I don't know, 4 or 6 destroyers full of men and land them on one of these Greek islands here. And they end up just being a target for German air attacks mainly. And the British have to evacuate them out because they can't keep sending enough supplies in through attacks. So they do another dash in and evacuate them out. And it sort of showed the British that they can't do operations without American support. Because there was functionally, they may have flown in a couple of squadrons of fighters or something, but there was functionally very little air support in there. And so, unlike when you're seeing operations with carriers and land-based air coming out of Tunisia over Sicily and whatnot, the British just can't do it on their own. They just don't quite have the logistics to do it. Now, so Churchill believes, because Churchill does not want to, not that he let me sort of amend this. Churchill is deathly afraid of a disaster in landing here and going after Germany. Not that he doesn't want it to happen, or not that he doesn't want it to succeed. He thinks it's going to fail, or it's just too big of a risk. He describes this part of the world as the soft underbelly of Europe. Partially Italy, definitely, but it's this whole area. Now, he's right in the sense, because, okay, since even before America gets in the war, Germany is building like a big super battery to fire across the channel. They're building some fortifications along here. By the end of 43, Germany is really building fortifications here. Realize, they're still building fortifications up until the D-Day landings along this coast. They're hugely fortifying Norway. They spend huge amounts of resources. I want to say money, but money isn't really the question. It's more of a resources to fortifying Norway. They put a second rate at best Panzer Division up in Norway, mostly with outdated equipment, and they're really fortifying all along here. And so Churchill is worried about having the actual landings get destroyed, is part of his worry. He doesn't think that that's going to be a major thing, whether for Italian landings, and of course they've already come into Sicily the day before D-Day. So that would be June 5th. The Allies take Rome. Okay, the reason we forget it is because the next day, the big news is that when it hits Britain and America is the D-Day landings. That's like the big news. So we forget one of the Mark Clark's conquest of Rome, and conquering Rome is a historical achievement, like in Hearts of Iron or EU, or one of the achievement things you winning. Conquering Rome is an achievement to have on your, the U.S. conquered Rome, or it's mostly the U.S. It's mostly the U.S. The U.S. conquers Rome. There's some British involvement, I believe, but it's U.S. conquers Rome. So the United States has invaded and conquered Rome. Germans occupied it but didn't conquer it, really. I don't know. But conquering Rome is a big thing on the things to do in history if you're a nation. Not every country get to be able to go, we've conquered the city of Rome. So yeah, that's a big deal, and so that's already happening at the time of D-Day. Just to give you a time perspective, this is already the little Greek landings down here have failed. Now, where Churchill is correct in that you can probably get ashore efficiently because it is not fortified like we see the Atlantic Wall. Atlantic Wall is probably sort of the strongest right sort of in here, strongest as in the most built up defenses. Sometimes you have, out in Brest out here, you don't have to do much defenses because this is all sort of really rocky, really hard. Brest is a decent place once you get in there, but there's so many old forts from the Napoleonic eras and whatnot. You really can't effectively do much landing up here. I think you can by the time you get over here. Definitely you can do landings around here in Bordeaux. Obviously, they were able to do landings here. These are all nice beaches for landings along here. They did the Dieppe and getting into here. But yeah, this is... by the time you're getting out to here, this is rocky and really hard. Canadians in Rome, maybe, but they weren't the main thing. They were definitely the Canadian beach on here, I know. Hey, John Beth, how you doing? So, yeah, how hard it is to defend the different spots, but Germany's really put a huge effort, right, sort of this sort of area. Okay, they're doing the Italians are doing some coastal defenses. There's really not much down here in Greece. There's really nothing much. I'm not saying there's zero, but as a percentage of things, there's very little in what had been Vichy France. Now it's all occupied. The Vichy government is still sort of functioning, but it's occupied. But here's why it's not the soft underbelly of Europe, and particularly Greece, but also Italy. There are very few railroads going through Yugoslavia. Very few. There's maybe a bit more railway coming between, like, Bulgaria into Romania. Okay. Railways are key to things, more so than anybody at Paradox is willing to acknowledge. Whenever we bring up the subject, not that important. They're key importance. And what sort of makes them think that they're not that important is sort of the Red Ball Express and other roadway express setups that the Americans are able to do. But that's only the Americans are able to do it. Nobody else in the world could do it at that time. Build enough trucks, get enough drivers and support elements, and build hasty bridges, to replace blown up bridges, whether by the retreating Germans or by air attacks or whatever, to keep reinforcements from moving around, all that stuff. So America is able to get stuff moving on the highways that nobody else at the time in the world could do. But there just isn't even the road infrastructure in this part of the world. And Italy, as they find out, and because I don't know if they may have not looked at a map or something, Italy is made of mountains. It's all mountains. So you're not going to dash up Italy. And this is where Kesselring is brilliant at. It is doing defensive lines. And it's the Navy that saves the Italian campaign. It's not the Air Force. I mean, the Air Force is playing a vital role. It's not the Army. Of course, the Army's doing all the fighting. And I'm not saying because it was very much an American/Commonwealth Army. Definitely British divisions, but there's even some French Moroccan divisions. There's the Polish, at least one Polish division is operating here. The Polish division is sort of an Anglo-American supply situation, sort of British uniforms, but American heavy equipment kind of thing, at least by the time they're operating in Italy. And then a lot of various other Commonwealth nations operating in the Italian peninsula. Well, I'm not saying that those forces couldn't eventually fight their way up against what was facing them by primarily Germans. Some northern, Italian Social Republic troops, but the troops are mostly anti-partisan type stuff. They can fight their way up it, but it's going to take for however long. It's going to be super costly. It's really the landings at Salerno, the landings at Anzio, the other threatened landings up north. But by D-Day, they're out of Anzio, they're pushing into Rome. Things are collapsing. They have a couple of defensive lines already pre-staged out. Instead of another landing in Italy, they go for the Anvil landings. Originally, the conceptual, I know I'm going off on lots of tangent here. Conceptually, it was going to be the D-Day landings up here and the Anvil landings down here. Not maybe like the same day or anything like that, but operationally simultaneously, but they just did not have enough landing craft, both the big sort of landing ship tank kind of landing craft and smaller landing craft to do both of these at the same time. And they were continuing to need to, because of the damaged ports, they would need to use the big and the small landing craft to land supplies onto the beaches. Then it took them a while, I don't remember how many days, it was a month or two or whatever, before they were able to do the landings down here. So they, instead of doing another, turn the line, defensive line again here in Italy, sort of turned it by getting here, and there just wasn't enough forces to, contain this landing. So that's why the Germans start withdrawing more and more out of Italy. So it's the Navy that keeps this going by both the actual landings and the threat of landings somewhere else, keeping forces in the reserve that allow them to push up, because they're afraid, if we have all of our forces along the line here and they land here in Russia and cut us off, we're doomed. So they had to have reserves to do it. So it's the terrain in southern Europe is rugged, is underdeveloped infrastructurally, both in rails and roads, in compared to, northern Europe here through this great sort of plains, if you will, because, you got a few hills, mountains, whatever you want to call them here, but, they don't even know what a mountain looks like here, except from looking at a photograph if they haven't left the Netherlands. I mean, they don't know. If they've left and they've seen some other parts of the world or looked at a photo or modern day, TV, they know what a mountain looks like, but they don't. This is just a great plain in here. There's rivers and there's forests that sort of, make it, a little difficult, and things that they might call hills somewhere in here. But yeah, this is easy movement compared to coming through and down here. So yeah, invading here and thinking you're going to knock, like you're going to create a second front from the south and push up here, because this was sort of the actual sort of dream of Churchill. Not that it wasn't so much Italy, it was to go into Greece, take out Romania and Yugoslavia while the Soviets are still back here in the Soviet Union, and then have a front that pushes this way towards Berlin while the Soviets are pushing this way towards Berlin. So all this territory is occupied by the Anglo-Americans instead of the Soviets. That's what he's want, because Churchill, he's worried about people dying. Don't get me wrong. And not that he's not worried about what to do in the war, but once America's in the war, hey, we've won. He knows we've won. It's just a matter of doing it, and there's going to be hard, tough choices. He sees that, but he's now looking at what is going to happen after the war, not what's happening now in the war, where the Americans are fighting the war now. FDR is not looking for what's going to happen after the war, and so he's looking at, Churchill's looking at what's going to happen after the war. So he wants to move up through here. But really the lack of infrastructure, the lack of, you get Salonika or Thessaloniki, whichever version you want to use for this term here. And yeah, okay, you got a port. But how the hell are you going to get supplies up here? There's like one spindly railway connection or something. You're not going to supply armies in the modern American sense well and efficiently. And you're going to easily have bottlenecks coming through this terrain. And coming up into Yugoslavia, or into Bulgaria, yeah, the Bulgarian army is crap, for sure. It really, really is. But if you can race down some German divisions, oh man, they're going to be able to hold. It's going to be a hard fight. You got, the Danube here, which is sort of, basically on the scale of the Rhine River, very, very hard to cross. You're going to have a hell of a fight. And it really isn't going to be this blazing blitzkrieg type situation. It was a blitzkrieg for Germany pushing into Yugoslavia because it was only Yugoslavia defending it. It wasn't a modern force. And we can see a similar situation here where the British come in here and do a marvelous job delaying the German push into Greece. I think if it wasn't for the battle happening down here, I think the British, on their own, no, they couldn't quite hold out in Greece, I don't think. They could have done a more modern defense of Crete. That was more just refugee forces still down here when the Germans invade. There's like a Greek battalion or brigade, I forget which, that literally had no ammunition for their rifles because their rifles were out of date. And when they were evacuated from Greece down to here, there was no, supply of that caliber of ammunition. The British didn't have any of it. So they, had, I forget whether it was a battalion, a brigade, or whatever strength. So they had this whole, potentially good fighting unit. I don't know that it was that good, but it was a unit willing to fight that literally had no bullets when the German paratroopers were coming down at them. And so, and they didn't have time to swap them out for British rifles or anything like that. So, we can see what the British were able to do, serious delays, and, once the Germans, because the British are coming in sort of to help the fight the Italians, help the Greeks fight the Italians. Once that flank gets turned and is pushed down in here, the British know their forces aren't strong enough to hold, but they can hold at several of these passes for a while, and that allows a lot of evacuations. So, that's a modern force really seriously delaying the other modern force, the Germans. That would be sort of the reverse of what's going to happen. You're going to have the modern Germans coming to the rescue of the Bulgarians and the Croatian forces or whatever and fighting here. It's going to be very different. If it was just fighting against Yugoslavians, Bulgarians, Romanians, British, Anglo-American forces could crush them, but the Germans would come in. So it's not the soft underbelly. But here's the brilliant thing. Is you make noise about invading. You make it seem like you might invade, not just a raid, not just a Dieppe or take out an island or two and whether you can hold it or not, because sure, the Allies could have taken back Crete. It could have got them a few good things and would have got them some air bases to better bomb Ploesti, but they were already able to do so from North Africa and then later from Italy. So there'd be some, useful things, and you could even invade Rhodes if you feel like it. The Anglo-Americans could do that. But that doesn't collapse the German or the Italian forces. So small pinprick raids could have been done a little better than they did. Obviously, they might have delayed some more important. See, this is the thing. I just say there's good reason to take out Crete. But does that mean, whether it's the Salerno landings, which sort of turn the front here and take Naples, or the later Anzio landings here that Mark Clark could have landed and literally day one driven into Rome. Might have meant hard fighting once you get to Rome because there were German forces around, but very, very few. He's worried and he builds up his defenses and then pushes. By that time, the Kesselring is able to have defenses and is actually pushing back against them. So he delays it poorly. He should have been bold. But had you delayed those operations to do this, probably would not be a good choice. But if you could still do these operations and do this, getting these bases down here, it's sort of a limited objective. Meaning once you get these, it's not like endless push north, but it's also you fully secure them. And with enough air power, you keep the Germans from counterattacking. So you have they can bomb you, but that's about it. They're not going to be able to have enough tips to shell you. They're not going to, be able to re-invade you. So you now have an unsinkable aircraft carrier, if you will, that you can use to bomb and threaten all of these other places. That makes Germany, and earlier on until Italy collapses, Italy spread out all of its forces and, oh my God, where are they going to land? Where are they going to land? Where are they going to land? The Germans had occupied into Sardinia. Now, von Etterling, rather good general actually, though not well known, does a brilliant, without any casualties and without any significant loss of equipment, he is able to, after the full success, they've fully taken Sicily, he withdraws out of Sardinia up to Corsica and across Corsica to Italy without any losses. And now there's no landings opposing him, but there's the U.S. and British navies are all moving around here. And so he does this brilliant withdrawal out and gets all the German forces out and all of their heavy equipment out to later fight on. And so he gets those and withdraws from these islands and just gives up the islands and they come over. So that is, a brilliant move. But because they have some German divisions here, those German divisions aren't fighting here, that allows this to be taken. Now, I'm not saying that had Etterling's, Singer von Etterlung, I think is his full last name. He has a long name. Had all of his divisions been down here day one, that Patton Montgomery wouldn't have won eventually here in Sicily, but it would have been a lot harder because I think it was two or three more German divisions with all their equipment down here would have been a serious problem for the Allies. And so the threat of landing all over here is more useful than serious landings. Now, you had to try to push into Italy to knock Italy out of the war. I fully agree with the Italian campaign, partially because they weren't technologically or set up with the Mulberry harbors, the mobile harbors, and they hadn't built them yet, hadn't figured them out yet, so they weren't ready to do them in 43. So a 1943 campaign keeps everything sort of operating here, getting ready for what's coming up there. Okay, after all this talk, let's see. Was the Brazilian? Yeah, there was a Brazilian. I don't know if it was quite a division, but maybe. There was definitely Brazilians, and they fought really hard. They had one real desperate little small battle defense. They fought very well. But remember, the Brazilian forces were just a minuscule, sort of the elite of the Brazilian army. It wasn't the standard Brazilian army. So yeah, they were sort of the elite that were sent. I think it was about a battalion or something that was sent there. Let's look up here. I want to see. Fairly good one. Getting interesting. Okay, this would be. This we do. We're stealing. Yes, stealing them from you're flattening them out. You don't see them. You just see the dirt from the mountains coming down. I think if they failed in Sicily, that could have messed up some things. Though they could always land somewhere else. I just woke up, so I'm a bit hazy. Yeah. It's... You have to look also at the importance of Sicily and other landings. They do some airborne drops, but they're sort of small, with the torch landings, along with the torch landings. And, you know, they land at Algiers, Oran, and sort of Casablanca, and I think a little way south of Casablanca. So it's 3 major landing areas. And that's a learning experience. Now, these are against French troops that definitely didn't want to die. Some of the officers and some of the troops hated the British for what they did at Oran, sinking the French fleet and killing a couple of thousand Frenchmen. So they're pissed at the Brits, but they're not really that pissed at the Americans. But even then, they really don't want to die. So they don't fight hard much. And some of the places they fight for, fight for a couple of hours, and then sort of give up, and then mostly, join Free French forces. I think there's a few officers and very few men that are deemed, too much collaborationists to let them join the French forces. So you're coming against one of these weak sort of opponents and practice landing there. Now, I know a little bit more about the American landings here versus the British landings that are over here along this coast. Patton wants to come land at the north, along the north, not necessarily at the city of Palermo, but take Palermo, meaning may have landed, outside of the city and push in. I don't know exactly where, but he wants to land there and push here while Montgomery pushes here. But the Americans land here. What is it? Husky, I think the operation is called. It doesn't go so well. There's some serious problems with the landings. But they do get ashore and they do push in. Fortunately for the Americans, really at the beginning are mostly just fighting Italians, and the Germans do show up at the beach and fighting at the beach landing, but sort of piecemeal, in not well organized, and the Americans have a chance to get ashore and push out. And of course, Patton sort of completes his, instead of doing the mountain roads to support Montgomery's coastal push, he pushes straight north and then along the coast to Messina, because he wants to do a sort of a pincer movement along the coast, and he sort of fakes it out. And these, I think he was using Bradley as his fighting there. And then, they eventually push across here, and they're starting to push up here, and then they do the Salerno landings, I think around here somewhere. And they learn a lot. The Salerno landings have learned a lot from the Sicily landings, and then the Anzio landings are getting pretty damn good, efficient landings. And so they're learning a lot, getting ready for up here. So this is all important training for here. And so that does matter. And taking Italy out of the war matters. And so the threat of the landings on these other parts, whether it's Greece, France, and then later on, once you really can't. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible, but the problem is that even if you sail a big fleet up here and you land here like at Split or come up one of these other places, it's the continuing to supply via sea, with the enemy having attacks, air attacks from both sides, and Moss boats, the fast attack boats coming out, and submarines. It just really isn't practical to move a large fleet up here and then keep supporting your landed troops. Now, once you have this, the Americans still don't do that here, because this is still a little too easy to attack, to move something heavy in it safely. But they could have, once you get the heel of Italy, it does open this up. And so the Germans have to worry about attacks through in here. The Americans, since they're not, like I was saying earlier, not worried about the end of the war, are not doing any sort of landings here, which they, like I say, I think they should have done some small ones, but only if they don't materially delay major operations. So yeah, so let's continue a little bit more here. Now we got off the subject of normal sort of Italian playing, but okay. Defense, interception, detection, ground support. Well, we can do both of these, but I want to get eventually to naval strike tactics so that we can better do that. Do ground support. Yeah, Patton. Okay, here's the thing. If you watch war movies made during World War II, you'll often see how rigid the German command structure was, and how the German soldiers would do things even if it didn't make sense just because they were told what and how to do them. So some of the stuff in the war are almost like comedic, like they're told to march and they march off the end of a bridge or something. But even when it's not being presented as comedically done during the war, you see how the German command structure is just so rigid that, they get told to hold some position or do something, even if it makes no sense, they do it. And that's absolutely false. That's absolutely the opposite of what was happening. The German command structure is, for its orders, are very, very loose. Very, very, your objective is to, let's find an objective here, is to take, let's see, we'll just go Naples, I can pronounce it, is to take Naples. And you're an army commander. You're not a naval guy. You don't have any paratroopers to do this. So you're an army guy. Okay, and you're like a general. Or you could be, if this is just a small village, you could be a company commander. It doesn't, obviously Naples would be a general's, would be a general's or higher command. If this is just some little village somewhere, it'd be a company or battalion commander. They're just told that's your objective. Okay. Now, they leave it up to, do you want to move along the coast and attack in here? Do you want to move along here? Or do you want to circle around and come around the back? They leave all that up to the local commander. The Americans, on the other hand, and of course Hitler is the worst in that he's trying to micromanage the front, messing with the German command system, messing with it badly. Where the American command system is much more rigid. They get told a lot more. You will attack here along this position set up after this bombardment. There's much more higher level command and planning done for the operational commander. And they're given much more detailed orders. Now, you're supposed to carry it out, but you're given, you're supposed to move up along the coast area and do this other thing. And this may be coming from London or back here in Africa or wherever. The American is a much more rigid command system. Now, Patton much more interpreted his orders loosely, and so he gets away with it to a point. But the sort of slapping incident that happens in Italy here that sort of gets him fired, he was set up. I'm going to say it straight up. He was set up. He was fucking set up. Did the incident happen that you see in the Patton movie, something like that? Yeah, I think it happened. And I think, what they called shell shock in World War I, and to an extent in World War II, combat fatigue, I think, was more the term that would be used in World War II. And what we call PTSD or whatever today, Patton didn't react well to that. No, he didn't. And that was sort of the situation over slapping the soldier. And a general should not slap a soldier. You sort of let the NCOs use the fists if they need to. The officers should not be striking the men, and the men should not be striking the officers. If you have somebody who's mouthing off too much, and you've given them a few orders not to, maybe the NCO needs to use a bit of, brute strength on them and it's a rare case that it ever should happen, in that you got somebody who could be straightened out by a little bit of tough love. And again, this is I'm just looking at this from historical analysis. Hello, Beamslam. So it shouldn't be an officer. Patton was in the wrong. This gets in the newspapers. How the fuck does it get into the newspapers when everything is censored? Tell me that. How does this slapping incident, that I'm going to grant is real, get in the newspapers to make Patton look bad? Because he has enemies in the Army. Patton has enemies within the Army, so they let that story get out. I don't know that he's set up from like Eisenhower's level. He's the supreme commander in Europe, but also, the top U.S. military commander. Whether it's, somebody, him or some other high-level generals, or just some mid-level censor, mid-level within the censor office that don't, we can't have this story and, red X it out. I think that's how they would red X out either paragraphs or the whole story and then send it back. No one red X'd it out. And they let it get out in the papers. And then, of course, it's the wire service, so it's not like the one paper goes out to all the papers. So it becomes a big story. Somebody doesn't censor this story of a general behaving badly. And so he gets in this political trouble over it. Like I say, he was set up to fall. They wanted him gone. Also, you see the quote, blood and guts Patton. Yeah, his guts and our blood, somebody's saying. Well, and he sort of has this post-war reputation that has sort of been promoted partially by the Patton movie. That from when he takes command of the Third Army in, as after the D-Day landings, but when he takes command of the Third Army until the end of the war into Germany, per capita, meaning for the percentage of soldiers that he has under his command. So, maybe Montgomery has twice as many soldiers, but, it's based on a percentage of soldiers' losses. Patton's Third Army has the least casualties of all armies fighting in Northwest Europe. That includes the British, that includes the other American armies there's Bradley's army, and I think there's another general's army coming. Patton has the least percentage of casualties of any of the armies moving from that day, from the day he takes command, and starting that day with all the other ones. He has the least casualties of Western armies moving into Germany than any of the other ones. Now, he has the reputation of being the most bloody to his soldiers. They don't like Patton. And it's not so much his soldiers. It's whenever they can, whenever there's grumbling, because obviously there's going to be some soldiers, because soldiers in Patton's division are grumbling because their buddies died. They don't know whether, or not in his division, in his army, they don't know whether it's a higher or lower casualty ratings in other armies. So of course they're grumbling and think they have it the worst because they only know what they have it. But after the war, this anti-Patton has continued. Making him seem bad when he had the lowest casualties, because Patton knew that if I have 10 casualties today, pushing hard against that objective, for the next 5 days I only have 5 casualties a day because the enemy's in retreat. So instead of having, or like 2 casualties a day or whatever, so instead of having a steady rate of casualties like the British would do, but because he would push really hard and have one day have a higher level of casualties and push over, and then once the enemies collapse, and then push, like we were seeing when we could push really fast with some of the divisions here. They can't get organized quickly enough to withstand his pushes. So once he pushes, he knows high casualty today, low casualties for the next week or two, and then once the enemy gets situated, then high casualties again, breaking them, and then push hard. So yes, on certain days he has big casualty spikes compared to other armies. And it's not that he doesn't care about his men, it's that in the long run he knows he'll have fewer casualties than he will in the short run. But you know, I mean, they'll spike up and down. So he has these spikes at some of these battles that he really pushes hard. And you could say recklessly, but it's sort of, oh, damn the danger, go now, push harder. Don't tell me that you just had, no, you just push. Because he knows over time period, he'll have fewer casualties. And that's what turns out to be it. So Patton was really good. Patton is one of my heroes, as you can tell. Not a big expert on Patton. I've read some books on him, but he is one of my heroes. And because of his not playing by the book in cases like Sicily, and not playing well with others like Montgomery, he makes enemies. And those enemies, you know, within his own army are the ones that do for him. And so, yeah, makes sense that he's always moving, didn't stand there. And yeah, and so it's like push hard now kind of thing. Patton was U.S. best strategic general during World War II. Yeah, maybe MacArthur's really good. People say MacArthur sort of showboated and took credit for other people's plans. Yeah, I'm not going to say other people didn't make the plans, but it was MacArthur choosing which plans to go, and then he's putting his name on it. But then again, since he put his name on it, if they failed, it would have been up to him. So yeah, it may have been some other general or, you know, brigadier general, not Filipino field marshal, because he was a field marshal in the Philippines. That's why he has all that extra gold braid on his hat that no U.S. general has, because he just kept wearing his Filipino hat. Because he was commanded the Philippine Army, which was basically a field marshal's kind of thing. So he had all that extra stuff on his hat because of the Philippines. You know, some other lower ranking general or some colonels or whoever that came up with some of the different plans. And this could either be when he's commanding in Korea or earlier in the Pacific campaign. Yeah, I'm not saying there weren't other people developing the plans and coming up with all this stuff and presenting them to him. And then he's like presenting them, hey, I did this thing. No, but he is looking at these plans and accepting them and doing them and putting his name on them. So if they would have failed, they would have blamed him, because you're going to blame the commanding general. He can't really pass it off as, oh, well, somebody told me to do this that's below me. No, he chose to do it. So, and MacArthur is a bit more of a set piece kind of battle situation in ways, but you do see at times when they're fighting, he's literally the guy out in the Jeep looking for the flank of the enemy to get across some river in the Philippines or whatever. You see it in his movie a bit that Gregory Peck stars in. So he is a bit of an forward operational commander, but because it's sort of a bit more limited objectives, even like if you're looking big island like this, it's really, this is limited, and then you do another invasion, and then you do another invasion. There's no road, so it's not like, even though it's like all one island, they're sort of little islands of civilization, if you will, or they're just other little islands. So he was not quite as mobile a command. And of course, there's the Incheon landing out here, cuts this off and gets all the way right up to it, right about there, and then the Chinese come in. So and he fights that withdrawal well too. I always respect a general, maybe even more, that now, Ridgway and some of the other generals that were actually up at the front did do the fighting withdrawal, but he got his forces after being overrun by the Chinese, got him, you know, organized and set up down here. But a general who can withdraw his forces reasonably intact and able to fight has my great respect. More so than necessarily, because a general that is forced to retreat, whether you're the theater commander like MacArthur that gets hit by the Chinese, or whether you're just a local general, you're being hit by something that's overwhelming you, and being able to pull that out, that in my opinion, is more admirable, especially compared to somebody like Montgomery at El Alamein, who's organized up the winning battle. And yeah, he wins and does well and pushes, but things are going well for him. It's the general that, like Rommel, who pulls out the retreat in that kind of overwhelming odds. I have great respect for and keeps his forces. That's one of the reasons why, like, Frederick the Great had very strong respect for George Washington. Now, of course, they never met. They lived on different continents. But Frederick the Great was very much reading reports of what was happening, what George Washington was doing during the American War of Independence, and had great respect for George Washington because of his ability, especially I think it was the withdrawal from Long Island, and when the British landed to take over New York. He withdrew his army intact and got it out. And probably, of course, the crossing of the Delaware and taking out the Hessians, and with zero friendly casualties, at least of dead, and almost zero enemy casualties, but capturing the enemy. So he had great respect for Washington as well, because of retreating against a far superior force and keeping his forces intact, and doing so under difficult conditions. Yep, they thought, absolutely. Now, it's partially because of their respect for him, but also partially because he was out here, and they're commanding the phony army, and they were expecting it to come across through Calais. Yeah, I don't know that the American officers didn't respect Patton's leadership. They just didn't like his style. Patton, like MacArthur, they were both showboats. Where you got Bradley, he's sort of the GI's general. He's down to earth. He's, because he was actually briefly a private. I mean, very quickly, he didn't spend a lot of time in the ranks, but he did, join the army as a private instead of coming in as an officer. But Bradley's not a flashy character. Even Eisenhower is not a flashy character. Patton's a flashy character. His ivory-handled grips on his pistol and all of that stuff. So he rubs a lot of officers the wrong way. Not that they didn't think he was a good officer. And if you look at the scene in the movie Patton, where he's going to be coming in under Bradley, his former subordinate, and Patton's just sort of begging to give a command. Be given a command is, they're all worried, are you going to follow orders, Patton, or just go off and do your own thing? And it wasn't like they were thinking that whether he was going to be smart about it. It's just whether he's controllable. And, Patton is looking, well, yeah, I'll follow orders, but, I'm sure he's thinking to himself, but I'm going to be the guy in there. A guy on the field is seeing what's possible. And see, this is the thing, is command from afar is far from good. I just came up with that. Maybe somebody else has said it also, and maybe I've heard it before. But so the guy in charge at the point of the spear, whether it's the platoon commander, the company commander, battalion, blah, 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 to the army commander, whatever it may be, to the theater commander, Eisenhower should be in charge here, not Marshall, who's in charge back here. Actually, earlier on and whatnot, you have Pershing, Blackjack Pershing, the guy who commands in Europe in World War I. He turns down any field command, but does help command, the War Department at the time back here and organizing things up for it. He knows he's out of date. He knows he's not going to be however good of general he is, he's not going to be the best choices for fighting this new war, getting old. Marshall is the guy who really is running the show, who later does the Marshall Plan into Europe. But Marshall's running the army in the U.S. And so, yeah, Marshall should not be running Europe. You have Eisenhower. And then you have, when Eisenhower is still sort of back here in London, you basically, I think, have Bradley running the show here, with Patton running the Third Army, as well as other generals. And it becomes sort of, it's Eisenhower and Bradley trying to keep Montgomery and Patton from fighting each other. Not armies fighting each other, but just, fighting each other for supplies and whatnot. Well, thank you, Scooter. I hope they're fun to listen to. I have fun talking about them, so it keeps me motivated doing this. Yes, he probably would. Le Grand Armée of Napoleon. He probably would fit in well. Napoleon liked lucky generals better than good generals or great generals. Or great generals were the lucky ones. So it wasn't how well he thought you could command an army. I mean, he'd find a job for you. You know, if you were good organizer, good planner, good whatnot, you know. But if you weren't lucky on the field, if you didn't make those sort of intuitive right choices to when to charge your cavalry or whatnot, he'd find administrative type, support type jobs for you. You know, it's not, you know, he's nothing like Stalin, like they're going to shoot somebody or put him in a prison. But he, you know, if you weren't a lucky field commander, he'd find other. There's, you know, in Napoleon's empire, there's lots of military jobs to do. So if you were just a good general, but you weren't lucky, he would find other things for you to do. And so he'd rather have somebody who he thought was, yeah, he's an okay general, but man, he's lucky. He'd keep him on so long as his luck remained. But yeah, he would fit in well. Patton comes from a professional military family, very much that type of thing. And he read history more than most generals. Well, guys, I think that's going to end this episode here. I want to thank you all. I hope you enjoyed my historical talks while playing Hearts of Iron, World of Blaze. I know we got way off the mod in Italy, but I hope it was all fun. Thank you all. Like Arno's been saying, please give this a thumbs up, subscribe, and share this with a friend. Do you know a historical gaming bulletin board, forum, message thing, app? Share this video there once it's released. Love to have more viewers. Thanks, everyone. See you next time. Okay, let's say this. I think we're going to end the stream today here. Just 3 hours today, but I'm feeling that I'm going to take a break here. Tomorrow, I will be back playing War Thunder. You all, what, 21 of you, it looks like there's currently watching, are invited to play with me. We will be streaming on Twitch. I'll put up an announcement video, I think, on YouTube. But we'll be streaming on Twitch. You're all invited to play with me. We'll rotate out if there's enough people. And it's like I say, you know, it's a free-to-play game, so you can get on there. We'll play reserve tanks if that's all you got. Just get you in at least one mission. But if you know, may play a bit more, so you're all welcome. If you don't want to play, just come and hang out. And I'm sure, though, of course, I have to concentrate more on what's happening, you know, shooting other tanks and things. Than I do on this game. And I think I'm streaming this week, coming next week up for Slytherin. I'd have to look at my schedule. They've given it to me for next month. I think I'm this week. I'm not sure. Coming soon there. And of course, Fridays we'll be doing the multiplayer stream. Hopefully it'll go better. Oh, we could use more multiplayer. People want to play a proper country. The Discord server is open if you want to join there. And of course, Saturday we'll be back with more of World of Blaze and me going on about things. Love to see you all then. So thanks, everyone. See you next time.